A lot of CEOs tell me the same thing. We have a sales problem. Revenue is inconsistent. Forecasts just simply aren't reliable. Some reps perform and others don't. And on the surface, that makes sense. And in most cases, it's not actually a sales problem. It is a process problem, because sales doesn't fail randomly. It fails when there's no consistent way of doing the work. When results depend on individual talent instead of a shared system. This makes scaling absolutely impossible, because even the best plan falls apart without a clear sales process. So in this video, I'm going to cover how to build a sales process that actually scales with your team. Why inconsistent results always point to a process issue. Makes a process scalable as the team grows. Hiring top reps doesn't fix broken sales systems. And how a defined process improves forecasting and KPIs. Hey, if you want predictable growth, this is where things get real. Let's start with the most practical question. How do I build a sales process that scales with my team? The biggest mistake that most people make is thinking that it needs to be complex. It doesn't. A scalable sales process has one job. It must make good selling behavior repeatable. Not perfect behavior, not scripted behavior, but predictable behavior. And here's where most teams go wrong. They confuse stages with process. They say things like lead, opportunity, proposal, close, but they're just simply labels. They don't tell the salesperson exactly what to do. A real sales process defines what must happen at each stage, what qualifies a deal to move forward, what information absolutely must be gathered, and what decisions must be made. In other words, it answers the question, what does good look like right here? And when that's clear, something important happens. Sales stops being personality driven, becomes systems driven. That's how a process scales with the team. Because when new people join, they're not guessing. They're stepping into an existing way of selling. It's the difference between a team that grows smoothly, a team that gets louder and less predictable as it scales. When sales results are inconsistent, most sales leaders look at the people first. They ask, do we have the right reps? Do they need more training? Are they motivated enough? But inconsistency is rarely a people problem. It's a process problem. Because if there's two salespeople with similar experience and they are getting wildly different results, something underneath is broken. And what's usually broken is clarity. Here's what inconsistency looks like inside of the business. One rep qualifies hard, another skips qualification to move fast. One rep runs deep discoveries, another jumps straight to proposal. One rep sells value, the other rep sells price. And none of that is random. It's just what happens when there's no agreed way of selling. So results inevitably fluctuate. Leadership starts guessing who's good and who's not. And coaching becomes reactive instead of developmental. This is why inconsistent results is such a powerful signal. It's telling you the system is missing, because a strong process doesn't eliminate variation completely, but it narrows it. It raises the floor, and when the floor rises, scaling becomes possible. The business isn't relying on individual heroics, it's relying on a shared standard. So if inconsistent results point to a process issue, the next question is, what actually makes a sales process scalable? Because not all processes scale. Some sales processes just create bureaucracy. A scalable sales process has three key qualities. Number one, it is simple enough to be followed. Look, let's face it, if a sales process requires a 40-page manual, it's just not going to be used. A scalable process is clear, teachable, and easy to coach. It should be understood in one sitting. And number two, it is behavior-based, not CRM-based. Now, this is a big one. A lot of teams make this mistake. They build the process around CRM fields. But CRM fields is not behavior. A scalable sales process defines what a sales rep must do and discover. For example, who is the decision maker? What problem are we solving? What happens if they do nothing? What success looks like to them, and qualifying what the buying decision-making process is. Those are process questions, not CRM questions. Number 3, it provides gates and not stages. A gate is the criteria that must be true to move forward. Scalable sales teams don't hope that a deal will close. They qualify it through gates. And when you build gates into your process, something powerful happens. Because deals stop moving forward just based on optimism. They move forward based on evidence. And that's what makes a sales process scalable. This is one of the most expensive mistakes scaling businesses make. They believe the solution to resolving inconsistent sales is hiring a top performer. And sometimes it does lift revenue in the short term, but it really fixes the system, because top reps don't fix broken sales systems. They survive them. A top rep normally has strong instincts, confidence under pressure, and the ability to improvise. So they can still win deals on a messy environment. But here's the problem. That doesn't scale. So the business starts to think, great, that is the standard. But it's not a standard, it's an exception. And when you build a sales function around exceptions, you create fragility. You create a team where performance relies on talent, coaching becomes difficult, onboarding becomes slow, forecasting stays completely unreliable. But here's the most important part. Top reps often avoid process, and not because they're difficult, but because they don't need it to perform, which means the business stays dependent on individuals and not systems. And that is why the goal isn't to hire one great salesperson. The goal is to build a process that makes good sales repeatable, where average reps become strong reps and strong reps become consistent. And that's what creates scalable revenue. Most forecasting problems aren't caused by bad maths. They're caused by bad inputs. And those inputs come from an undefined sales process. When a sales process isn't clear, deals move forward based on feelings. Salespeople say things like, it feels close, I think it will land this month. And leaders have no way of challenging that. But when a sales process is clearly defined, forecasting changes completely, because deals only move forward when specific criteria are met. Same applies to KPIs. Without process, KPIs become noisy. End up tracking activity, don't know if it's the right activity. With a defined process, KPIs tell a story. You can see where deals are stalling, which stages are leaking, and which behaviors drive wins, and most importantly, where coaching should be focused. So KPIs stop being a reporting exercise. They become a complete management tool. And that is the real power of process. It doesn't just help salespeople sell better, it gives leaders visibility and control. And that's what makes scaling predictable instead of feeling stressful. So if you've been listening to this thinking, this sounds familiar, you're probably right. Most businesses don't have a sales problem. They have a process problem. Sales feels inconsistent because behavior is inconsistent. Forecasting feels unreliable because sales move without evidence. Hiring feels risky because success depends on individuals. All of this points back to process. A defined sales process makes good selling repeatable, raises the floor across the team, improves forecasting accuracy, strengthens KPIs, reduces the emotional load on leadership, because scale doesn't come from one fix. It comes from alignment across the entire sales engine. And when that alignment's in place, growth stops feeling fragile and it starts feeling controlled.